Hello, and welcome to the Holistic Health Show with your host, that's me, Amy. Here, you'll learn how to adopt a proactive approach to your health through effective, natural, and sustainable techniques. Whether you are just starting out on your journey or consider yourself a health-conscious pro, this podcast is for you. Join me every week where you'll leave excited to take your next step. This podcast is for informative purposes only. Please remember to speak with your healthcare provider for your health needs. I'm thrilled to have you here with me today. Now let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to the Holistic Health Show. Thanks for joining me again this week. And this week is our very first guest episode with video recording. So today we have Jean Squires. Jean is a naturopath in Newfoundland, Canada. She specializes in Reiki and reflexology. Thanks for joining us today, Jean.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Now, many of you may already know that Jean is actually also my mother. I thought it fitting to have Mom on the show. If you had heard my previous, I think episode 3, it talks about why I became a Reiki practitioner or a Reiki master teacher. And it all started with my grandmother and then was kind of handed down to us, my mom and then me. So I just thought it was fitting to have Mom on the show as one of the first guest episodes. And today what we're going to talk about is reflexology. Now, Mom, one of the first things I kind of want you to go into is why or how did you come to this journey? It wasn't something that my sister and I grew up with. We never practiced reflexology, or you didn't. And it wasn't until Nan brought Reiki to the family that we even kind of entered this world of holistic health. And that was when I was about 13. So how did your journey with all of this start?
Well, it started with my mother, as you said. She was one of the first people that I knew, or in Newfoundland, really, that was practicing Reiki. So she needed people to practice on. And we, of course, were closest to her. So I started with her. She was practicing on me. And gradually, she started to teach me Reiki level 1 and 2. And from there on, I guess I was kind of intrigued by it, but I was pretty busy. I was working, I was, raising 2 girls and just never had time to really explore anything till you guys got a bit older. And then I was looking for things to add into my life, some of my own interests. So I did do some more training with Mom and gradually became a Reiki practitioner myself. And as I was doing that, it piqued my interest. So I was looking for other things to do as well. And reflexology was one of the things that came up. And I gradually just kind of looked for somebody who could teach me, found someone, and just began practicing on people. And when I started to see the result of the treatments on people, that's pretty much when it hooked me in. And I realized that, yes, this is something that I want to continue on.
Yeah, of course. And that was a few years ago now. I can say that I'm definitely happy that you do it because I love getting a reflexology session. But for those who have never had reflexology or maybe haven't heard of it, what is it?
Reflexology it's a truly holistic treatment. It works on every level, body, mind, spirit. And the nice thing about reflexology is that because the feet are mapped out to match the body, which means we can actually target specific areas to work on. Not like Reiki where, it goes where it's most needed. It's very beneficial. But with reflexology, it's more of a hands-on as treatment for specific issues. For example, if somebody has a bad back, we can concentrate on working on the spine. If they have emotional issues, there's different areas that we can work on. But one of the first things that reflexology does is activates the parasympathetic system. So it lowers your heart rate, lowers your breathing, lowers your blood pressure so that you get into a very deep state of relaxation. And once you're there, anything really is possible with healing because you can't heal a stressed body. And I just take, once the person is in that state, I just take it from there and go with whatever is required and
Hmm.
working mainly through the hands and the feet.
Yeah. From my experience, I definitely feel very relaxed when I sit in that chair, and I sometimes fall asleep. So I'm not much of a conversationalist when I'm having a treatment, but I really do enjoy it. And it's been a different experience. Have had reflexology in other countries. Of course, in Australia now. I've had a session here and a little bit in Southeast Asia. I've had a couple of sessions, but they've always been different. And I know that you offer, I think it's 2 or 3 different treatments themselves. So would you agree that yes, reflexology is performed differently and kind of in different places of the world, and maybe why that would be, or why you do your different treatment sessions?
Yeah, it definitely is practiced differently in different places. And while the underlying premise of the treatment is still the same, the feet are still mapped out to match the body. Um, there's different, I think the biggest difference is the pressure that's used. Some
Yeah.
countries use a very, very deep pressure. In fact, they even use tools, wooden sticks or rocks to, press on the points of the feet that need work. The treatment I do is very gentle. It just is meant to stimulate the nerve endings of the bottoms of the feet, there are about 7,000 to 8,000, and the same with the hands. Uh, we stimulate those nerve endings, and that causes kind of a cascade effect up through the body because, once you start talking about the nervous system, it travels, everything travels up through the body. It hits every organ, every gland, every uh, part, every cell, I guess, of the body. So my treatment is not at all harsh. It's very gentle. And I do offer some add-on to the reflexology treatment.
I see.
One is I do a foot massage with every treatment, after every reflexology treatment. And I use oils that I blend myself. So they're therapeutic. I use doTERRA essential oils to make the blends. And I have them for pain, for menopausal problems, for insomnia. And I can pretty much make a blend for any kind of condition. So that's standard with every treatment that I do. There are a couple of extra ones. One is brand new. I'm just rolling it out now. And it seems to be a big hit. I use hot stones at the beginning and the end of the treatment to massage the calves and the feet. And of course, who doesn't like heat?
Yeah, that's one I'm pretty excited to try.
Yeah. The other one I've been using for quite a while, and it's also wildly popular, is a scrub. I get that also made locally, not by me, but by a lady here who makes great products. And she uses all natural ingredients. And I scrub the feet and the calves. So your
Mm,
skin is left feeling just so silky smooth after. And then after both those treatments, I wrap the feet in hot towels. So
yeah.
the biggest problem I have is actually getting people out of the chair after.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I can understand that. I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now,
So
I want to just
deeply,
go,
deeply relaxed.
yeah, I wanted to go back to how you said you use a light touch, and I know this from having felt it before, having received your treatments multiple times. But what do you do when people have particularly ticklish feet? Because I hear that quite a lot. I hear people say, "Well, I don't go. I haven't tried reflexology because I'm really ticklish." So, what happens if somebody is really ticklish? Is it just too difficult for them to sit through a treatment?
No, not at all. The treatment I do, the pressure is firm enough so that it's not a ticklish feeling. So they don't mind the reflexology session at all. The only thing I would suggest that if you have very ticklish feet is let me know, because if I do the scrub treatment and I'm brushing the scrub along the bottoms of the
Oh,
feet,
yeah.
sometimes that can feel a bit ticklish,
Yeah, I can see
but
that.
the
Yeah.
rest of the treatment is not.
And then what do you think? I keep going back to the tools that you were mentioned. You had mentioned some people or places might use. Would it just be too harsh? I know sometimes when you're doing treatments on me, or even when I've had them here, it's never really hard, but there are some areas of my feet that are really tender. It's not always the same, but there's some, I guess, pressure points that you get to, and they really are tender. So I can imagine if somebody was poking that with a stick, that might hurt. I don't
Oh,
know.
definitely. It would definitely hurt. And the thing about the the sensitive areas that you feel, usually they correspond to an area of the body that you're having.
Yeah.
So, say for instance, you have a problem with your shoulder. If I'm working on the shoulder area, then you would probably find a sensitivity there. It doesn't usually hurt to the point where you can't stand it, but it just feels sensitive, or it feels different from the other parts of the foot that I'm working on.
You notice it more, I
You
think.
do.
Yeah.
And that is one of the fun parts of the treatment. Because when I am before I start, I'll explain everything, especially to new clients, and I'll tell them if you find an area that is tender, is sensitive, it feels, if you feel it in your foot, or you could feel it in your body.
Mm.
So going back to the shoulder, when I'm doing the shoulder area, you may feel it on your foot, but you could also feel it in your shoulder and say, oh, wow, like I feel a tingling or a heat, or there's something
Mm.
happening in my shoulder. And I'll say, yeah, well, that's because I'm working in that area right now.
Right.
So it's, it's, that is what validates it for me. I know it's working. The client knows it's working. It's not just something, you're coming in to have for relaxation. It really is therapeutic treatment. And the other thing that I can feel when I'm doing a treatment is tightness. I look for inflammation or redness or discoloration. I also can feel bumps or kind of like little crystals under the skin. And that tells me that there's a problem with that area of the body. So it is quite fun to pick up on those things and to tell them for me. And, they can validate it for me and say, yeah, well, that's because I have this issue. Um, so those are some of the things that I can feel. They can feel. The other thing that people mention to me are feeling of warmth, of tingling, of a flow, kind of like something moving in the area, especially if I do specialized treatment that I've been doing for about a year and a half, called reflexology lymph drainage. That one works specifically on the lymphatic system. And I could
Right.
go into great detail about how wonderful that is. But I will say that for anyone suffering from any kind of inflammation, edema, lymphedema, any kind of chronic illness, that would be the treatment that I would recommend for them, because it does specifically target the lymphatic system and helps with any kind of swelling or infection. And a lot of times with that treatment, people actually feel a flow coming up their body and draining, a flow coming down their chest, which is
Uh-huh.
where the lymph actually drains.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I've ever had that treatment. That sounds quite remarkable, really. Would would this treatment you mentioned previously reflexology for the hands and feet. So first, I guess there's kind of two questions. So I'll start with this one. Are the hand and the feet treatment aside from using different parts of the recipient's body? Are the treatments different? Are the results or the benefits changing if you're using a hand or versus a foot?
No, not for the reflexology treatment itself.
Okay.
The hands and the feet are mapped out pretty much exactly the same. So I can target all the areas of the body, either with either treatment. The
So would it
only,
be Yeah, sorry. Would it be, the tips of the fingers or the tips of the toes if you were looking at the hands versus the feet? And, the palms here of the hands, I don't know if you can see, or the,
yeah, it's the whole hand.
yeah.
So it's the same as with the foot. So you think of the fingers as the head, same as the toes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the tops of these fingers are the brain. The face is behind the back of the fingers. The sinuses are the front, the shoulders here. All the organs are in this part of in the palm of the hand, say. And the spine comes up along here, is the same as it does on the side of the foot. The only time I would say that you would go with one or the other is if you have a problem, say, with your hand. If they're arthritic, if you have carpal tunnel, if they're very tight, I would say come and get a hand reflexology because I can work out those areas when I'm doing the massage part.
Hmm.
And I also do the forearm when I'm doing it. So tennis elbow, tight arms, tight hands. Of course, people now, because of there's so much computer use, keyboarding and,
Hmm.
work with the hands, people do find their hands are really tight. They have a lot of pain. They may have joint pain from arthritis, and I can work that out.
Right.
So the other thing would be if you have a problem with your foot, if you have, say, uh, broken skin or athlete's foot or any kind of skin condition or broken bone or something on your foot, I would never touch that. I would always recommend that you get the hand done.
Yeah, okay. What do most people do?
Feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody loves their
Feels
feet.
more relaxing to me, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a bigger area, I guess. It's easier for me to work on
Yeah.
it because it is a bigger area. But most people absolutely love getting their feet done. Now, I do have some regular clients that only do hand, and it's funny because everybody's so different. And once they get a treatment that they love, they just stick with it.
Yeah, I'm thinking now when I go get a massage, this doesn't always happen. It depends on, the masseuse, but sometimes at the very end they'll do a hand massage. And I really, really enjoy that. But I never think when I'm getting a reflexology of hands, I think feet.
Always, yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it's a great idea to try both
Mm.
because their benefits to both are just amazing. And you don't actually realize how much you need your hands worked.
Mm.
You always think of your feet hurting and being stiff and sore, but you don't realize how
Yeah.
nice it feels to get your hands massaged down as well. Yeah.
Well, sign me up for both. Now, what about any myths? Are there any myths or misconceptions that come along with reflexology? Is there anything you get asked a lot or
Well, some of the things I get asked would be the biggest one, I guess, is does it hurt? And it shouldn't hurt. Not the treatment I do, especially people have traveled and gotten them in other countries and they just walked out of there thinking that was excruciating. I can't do that again. Some people think it's a massage and they just come in expecting me to massage their feet. And that is like what the show says, it's not just a foot massage. It's actually
yeah.
a very therapeutic treatment. And they think it just will help the feet or the hands, but it actually helps the whole body. And it can help with any kind of pain, anxiety, any kind of emotional issue, uh, any kind of itis, arthritis, you know, anything that causes or is a result of inflammation. So it's not just for the area that I'm working on. It really is a full body treatment.
Yeah. And I wonder with the harsher treatments that people would receive elsewhere, I wonder if that's kind of a no pain, no gain mentality that needs to be overcome, where you think, oh, it kind of has to hurt to make a difference.
Oh, most
And yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. It
And
feels
some
like
people
that.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people love that feeling. And, I get some people, I have had people come in to me and say, you know, I was expecting a much deeper treatment, much deeper pressure. And that's what I'm looking for. And I say, well, you need to find somebody else because that is not what I do. And not only that, I wouldn't be practicing very long if I was doing that because my hands
Yeah.
just couldn't take it. It would just be so hard on my thumbs because there's a lot of thumb work with this. And, I need to keep practicing as long as I can. Don't want my hands
Yeah.
to give out now.
No, not at all. Now you mentioned some benefits are anxiety, pain, itis. Are there any real specific conditions, or is it exactly as you say, it's truly holistic and you can really gain benefits from other parts of the body?
It really is. It really is a full body treatment. Some people have come to me just for foot pain, say plantar fasciitis. And when I
Yeah.
know that, I will leave some extra time for the foot massage at the end and I'll go, here's the blend I have for pain. And they find that very beneficial. But I only do that after I have done the full reflexology treatment. So they end up getting all the benefits and are usually quite surprised by not only has their foot pain been relieved, but how well they feel overall or how it has impacted, another condition that they have.
Yeah, and even just coming in and de-stressing, I say sometimes these treatments are like a 60-minute holiday, you really come in, you relax and just kind of take a break from the world or the week or whatever's been going on. So it must, I can imagine you'd even sleep better if you were getting regular treatments, even, with the benefits that you'd receive from whatever conditions that you're struggling with, but also having that time to de-stress and kind of get your body back to a state of relaxation.
Oh
You must
yeah,
be sleeping better.
100%. It's most definitely a very relaxing treatment. And it kind of gives you a nice reset. I mean, how often do
Yeah.
we get an hour just to lie back and they don't, I tell my clients, you don't have to talk to me during the whole session. I'm not here for you to
Yeah.
entertain. You can just lie back. I put on some soft music and cover them with a blanket, turn down the lights. And that in itself, if I did nothing else, that
Yeah.
would be so beneficial to most people.
As
And
you're
I did
saying, and I'm
find,
thinking, I'm just sorry. I'm just thinking, make no wonder I fall asleep. It already sounds great.
yeah. And you get the added benefit of me working on the feet, activating the parasympathetic system, getting all those relaxation hormones flowing through the body. And it's just, people even feel groggy after, like they've taken
Mhm.
something. But their body, unfortunately, is not used to that state.
Yeah, in
So
hyperdrive.
they really do feel like, they're a little bit drugged after because, once that relaxation starts flooding through the body, it's like something that they haven't experienced in probably years.
Yeah.
Especially after COVID, I did find that a lot of people were just coming for the relaxation part of it, just to get away from all the stress of the lockdowns and, all the news briefings that were scaring people all the time and, the sickness that was surrounding people. So it was really an hour break. And that carries on with you after you leave. It's not just when you walk out the door that all that feeling disappears. It stays with you for a while after. And the longer you've been getting treatments and the more often you get them, the longer that those benefits stay with you. So people to come back and tell me or contact me and say, you know what, I felt my reflexology wear off about 2 days ago. I need to get back, just, just get it again. So I can, I can feel better again for another while.
Yeah, and going back to the holiday comparison, you know when you need another vacation. So I guess it is, it's you get that break and it lasts you so long, and then you find yourself back in the chair. Another
Yes,
another
exactly. And
reflexology. Yeah.
exactly. And people find when they leave here, they're better able to cope with day-to-day stresses. They sleep better. And of course, if you're sleep deprived, you can't deal with anything and you just feel terrible all the time.
Mm.
It reduces, their menopause symptoms. So they're not having as many hot flashes and just feel calmer for longer. So it's really beneficial to helping you cope with your day-to-day stressors.
Yeah. I'm just sitting here thinking, so when you visit again, as I mentioned, mom's in Newfoundland and I'm in Australia, so all I can think now is I can't wait to get my next reflexology from mom. Try out the
Sounds like
hot
I'm,
stones.
yeah, sounds like I'm going to be busy while I'm there.
It might be a vacation for you, but not for me, or sorry, the other way around, for me and not for you.
Yeah.
All right, so we kind of went through what people can expect during a session, and the pressure and the benefits. Is there anything in particular that they can expect after the session? Is there anything that one would have to do after attending a reflexology session, whether it be hands or feet?
Not really. I always suggest to people after any of my treatments that, if possible, if they can, relax for a bit, not go out in among a big crowd, just try to even go home and have a nap.
Really
Just release the,
maximize on that relaxation.
exactly. And just let it flow because like I said, it doesn't end when I stop the treatment.
Mm.
It continues to work through the body. It continues it's almost like a detox or a reset. And just reap the benefits of it for as long as you can and just let it go through. So it's same as if you would get a massage. Like, I'm sure the practitioners suggest that you go out and have an intense game of hockey or
Yeah,
baseball or something after,
yeah, take
just
it
try
easy.
to, yeah, just try to let your body absorb the treatment that you just had.
Yeah, no doubt. I guess it's like, after I do a Reiki session on anyone, I say, if you can go home now and have a cup of tea and read a book and just find some kind of quiet time for yourself. I mean, it's not always easy to do that. Squeezing in that 60 minutes sometimes is more than a challenge, but
Exactly.
yeah,
I know.
great to
His life
maximize on
is
that relaxation.
life is just too busy. But wherever you can find the time to just give yourself a break, it's so beneficial physically, mentally, emotionally. And people, I think, are starting to realize this and,
Yeah.
you know, understand that they just cannot keep going on overdrive all the time. People start to find that they do have physical and emotional problems that crop up and they're purely stress related.
And I know for myself, when I'm, if I have a lot on the go or, something's really stressful, if I do remind myself, you do have to consciously tell yourself, go take this time. I'm more productive after, I'm happier about what I'm doing and you kind of can take it in stride a little easier. It's just
Most
reminding
definitely.
yourself to get there and convincing yourself that you can take that time. It's so important. Mm,
One of the biggest things I hear from first time clients after I'm done is, I'm so sorry I didn't start this earlier. I've been putting it
sooner.
off
Hmm.
because I figured I didn't have the time. But now I
Yeah.
know I'm going
You're
to
more
make the
productive
time.
for it. Yeah, definitely.
That's it.
Yeah.
And happier. We're all searching
Hmm.
for happiness. And sometimes it just means slowing down taking a break,
No doubt.
everything.
I'd imagine that everyone around is happier that you're taking the time as well, because certainly it would improve your relationships and your at work or at home.
That's right. It benefits everybody in the house
Certainly.
and at work.
And at work, yeah. So if anybody wanted to get a Reiki, or sorry, I'm on the Reiki train. If anyone wanted to get a reflexology or learn more about reflexology, where would you suggest they do that?
Well, there's some information on my website. As for the reflexology, there's a Canadian Reflexology Association that has
Okay.
some very nice information. If you're looking for information on the reflexology lymph drainage, if you go on my site and you click on that treatment, you will find links to the reflexology lymph drainage website in the UK, and that gives you loads of information on the treatment and research around it.
Yeah.
There's quite a bit of research in the UK on that particular treatment, and
Okay.
it's just mind blowing. Yeah,
Yeah.
mind blowing when you look at the benefits of it. And if you want to book a treatment with me, I do have a website. It's www.jeansquires.com. It's very easy to navigate. You can just book online. And I always tell people, if you're looking for a time and you don't see it on my schedule, you can always send me a quick text or an email and we can work something out or
All
get you on
right.
a cancellation list.
And for our Australian listeners, I'll have a look and see what I can find as well. And I'll post all of those links in the transcript below this video once it's uploaded. Well, Jean, mother, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been nice to sit and learn a bit more about the treatments that I do get that I don't perform myself, so I don't know all the ins and outs. So thank you very much for sharing with me today, and hopefully we'll get you on the show again another time.
All right. It was my pleasure. And congratulations on launching the podcast. Very,
Thank you.
yeah, very exciting.
It has been. I've had lots of help. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining myself and Jean Squires from Jean Squires Naturopathic Services in Newfoundland, Canada. I hope you enjoyed what we had to say today. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. Thanks for joining me on the Holistic Health Show and trusting me to guide you towards proactive healthcare. If you'd like to learn more about what I do, head to bodymindkey.com. That's bodymindki.com, and reach out if you'd like to connect. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform and get ready to embark on an incredible journey toward holistic wellness. Until next time, be well and stay holistic.